When was the last time you questioned how you think? Join me, Emmanuel Utomi, and my guests every Monday from 9 p.m. on PRZ 109.2 FM London on Paspectives, because how you think powers your worldviews, actions, and your ultimate reality. So, come on, let us explore alternative ways of looking at life's issues. Perspective. What you already know should not stand in the way of what you could learn.
Welcome to you, my listeners. You are powerfully welcome to this beautiful week. And as it is our custom, I pray that for you this week will be a week of outstanding testimonies in the name of Jesus. That as you go out, your steps are ordered in the name of Jesus. You will have reason to celebrate this week in the name of Jesus. You are powerfully welcome to Perspectives on the Prayer Rally Zone, PRZ 109.2 FM. And my name is Emmanuel Utomi. I will be guiding you through our discussion for today. But before we jump into what we have for today, I'd like to remind you that if you have any questions, any comments, or topics that you'd like for us to discuss on Perspectives, do feel free to send a text. Send your text to 0757 260 5435. I'll take that again. It's 0757 260 5435, or send an email. Send your emails to perspectives@przfm.com. That's perspectives@przfm.com. Again, I'll spell out perspective because on Perspectives we do things differently. Perspectives is spelled as PASPEKTIVES. That's PASPEKTIVES. That's perspectives@przfm.com. Right. For the last few weeks, actually for the past about 5 or 6 weeks, we've been looking at the issue of personality styles, and we have done quite a few things. But before I also go into that, I'd like to remind you that Perspective is here to encourage you to question how you think. And beyond just questioning how you think, we're also here to help you develop the habit of thinking differently. And lastly, Perspective is designed to help you develop a progressive and solution-based mindset. So, as I was saying earlier, for the past 6 weeks or thereabout, we've been looking at the issues of personalities. And today, we would like to look at the issue of personalities from a slightly different perspective. For the couple of weeks we've looked at it, we've based personalities or broken them up into 4 major aspects, 4 major styles. We've said we have our warriors, we have our relators, we have the peacemakers, and the last but not the least are the thinkers. And we have discussed what they are. We've looked at their strengths, we've looked at how they come into play, how they interact. One thing we have not looked at are their weaknesses. What are the downsides to some of these personality styles? And that is what we are going to be looking at primarily today on today's broadcast. However, I'd like to do a brief recap of some of the styles. So when we look at our warriors, we say our warriors are the directs. They are the directors. They are commanding. They are domineering. They are the ones that by force of personality they get things done. That is to achieve results for them is a key. They are people oriented, but they are people oriented in such a way that they tend to dominate people. And in order to achieve goals, things as far as they are concerned should be done their way. and nothing else. Their way, and they achieve their results by force of personality. The other group we looked at were the relators. We said our relators were the outgoing people, they're the expressive and friendly people. They are also people oriented, but while the warrior is primarily interested in using people to achieve their goals, the relator is interested in what they can gain from people. So they love to be the center of attention, and for them, in order to achieve a result, for the relator, that result is they basically would communicate and persuade people into helping them achieve their results. The third personality style we looked at were the peacemakers. We said the peacemakers were the easygoing style of people. They are open, they are the most loyal of all the groups. They are also people oriented, but they are the only group of the four that are genuinely interested in people because of what they want to give, the seeds they want to sow into those people's life. They genuinely want to help people. And for them, if they want to achieve a result, they generally base that on their relationship. They will appeal to you based on the relationship they have with you. Like we said, they are easygoing. The peacemakers are the ones that would not mind giving you their right arm just for world peace, as I would say. So those are our peacemakers. And lastly, we have our thinkers. Our thinkers we described as the no-nonsense ones amongst us, amongst the personality styles. They are precise, they are reserved, they are evaluating, they are very, very detailed oriented people. When they listen to you, they're listening for facts, they're listening for data, they're listening for statistics. They can be cold and withdrawn when they listen to you. And for them, in order to achieve results, they would appeal to facts and data. They would, by force of statistics, they get their ways with anyone or any group. So those are the personality styles we've looked at. So the question is, what are their weaknesses? Are there weaknesses in all of this? I'd like you to, before I go any further, I'd like to also for you to know that no one person is exclusively imbued with just one of the styles. If you are human, you are endowed with the potential to flow in all of these styles. It only depends on your values or the environment. That is, we tend to exhibit certain styles based on the things that we hold dear or on the environment within which we find ourselves. One of the things we said when we started talking about this personality styles was that people are different, but that they are predictably different. When you relate with people, when you walk with people, over time, you tend to start to notice a particular pattern to how they conduct themselves, to the things, to how they speak, to how they dress, to how they relate with other people. That's why we say people are different, but that they are predictably different. You'd also realize that our personal styles are formed or evolve over time based on the people we relate to it, based on our environment, based on how we are educated, the quality, the quantity. So there are quite a number of things that affects our personality styles. However, within you lies the potential to exhibit all of the styles. What tends to happen is that given specific situations, you tend to instinctively exhibit a dominant style. I will say that again. We tend to instinctively exhibit a particular dominant style given certain environments. So you might find someone who is outward, who is gregarious, who is flamboyant at work, while at home this person is reserved. And in other cases, you have people who are consistently the same regardless of where they find themselves. So people are different, but like we said, they are predictably different. So what we are going to do today would actually be to look at the weaknesses of these styles. So again, we're going to start with the warriors. Now, what are some of the weaknesses that you'll notice in the warriors? Now, as you hear this weaknesses being, as I talk about these weaknesses, please realize that it is practically impossible for one person equally to have all these weaknesses. So the fact that you identify with a particular personality style does not necessarily mean that you will exhibit the weaknesses related to that style. Okay, so the warrior. While the warrior is a dominant director, while the warrior loves to be in control, we also know that part of their weakness is that they can be hot-tempered, they can be touchy, they can be irritable. So they are the ones that at the shortest or at the slightest mishap, as the slightest how would I put it, at the very minute that you say something out of place, they can flare up. The warrior is also cruel and sometimes can be mean. They can be ruthless, they can be nasty, particularly when it comes to achieving a set result. Once a warrior tells you, this is what I intend to achieve, what they expect from you is to just comply and just do what is expected of you. Warriors can also be very, very recognition inclined. While they want to achieve their results, they also want to be either directly or indirectly recognized for those results. They can be spontaneous, they can be unthinking, they can be very, very rash and very, very shrewd. When it comes to a warrior, you need to be careful how you relate with them. One of the things you don't do to them that would actually make them draw back is when you confront them. Yes, on the outside, the warrior appears to be firm and strong, but when you confront the warrior, they draw back. They are opinionated. They can be very bossy and domineering, very dictatorial. That tends to show up in their relationship. So those are some of the weaknesses of the warrior. Now, what about the relator? Remember, our relator are the optimistic, the encouraging, the lovely ones that love to be the life party, the life of every party. They like to be the ones at the center of attention. What are some of their weaknesses? They can be rude, they can be unmannerly, they can be insolent. In fact, one of the greatest traits that could also be a weakness of the relator is that they can be very, very restless. They find it very difficult to sit still. You remember in your office, that one person that keeps moving from table to table, that cannot seem to sit still. Now that is what you call a relator in the office space. They can be weak-willed. Now, why do I say weak-willed? They are easily manipulated, because for them, public opinion, being seen to be on the side of the popular movement, is very, very key, because they want to be liked. Therefore, once public opinion sways, they sway with it, which means sometimes they can equally be cowardly, but sometimes they can be self-centered, particularly when it comes to the interest of others. Their interests will be put first, especially if that interest will drive them into popularity. They can be absent-minded, they can be oblivious and unthinking as to what is going on around them. They can also be easily distracted. They are talkative, they ramble on. When you're talking to a relator, the relator is story-like in the way they communicate, so they can go on and on and on. One last thing I will say about one of the weaknesses of the relator is that they can be boastful. Because, like I said, for them, being the center of attention is key. Therefore, it means whatever they need to do in order to get attention, they will do it. Their personal space is very disorganized. They are not very organized. In terms of keeping off time, they're not very disciplined. They are like the ones that will feel that if you have an appointment with a relator, you say to them, look, our appointment is by 4. For the relator, it means I'm going to leave home by 4. So for them, they're not very disciplined with time. Now, what about our third personality styles, the peacemakers? Remember, we said the peacemakers are the easygoing, the informal, the very accepting, the very loyal set that makes our lives very, very, very bearable. What weaknesses could they have? They can be slow, they can be lazy. Remember that one of the greatest fears of the peacemaker is change. So for them, before they change, they can be very, very deliberate. They will take their time. They can also be shy and introverted. So when they are not used to you, they can be very withdrawn. And until they understand you, until they know what you have to offer, they're not going to open up. They are only talkatives amongst a safe environment. And for them, a safe environment is amongst friends that they're already used to. The peacemaker is self-protective. They can be very defensive. They can also be very stubborn and very immovable, very obstinate, particularly when it concerns something that they believe in. Like I said, their level of resistance to change is very high. So once they have come to accept a fact or have come to accept someone, you can say whatever it is you want about that person. They're not going to go back from that person. They will protect that person to the last. The peacemaker can also be very passive and reactive. They can be unmotivated. They can be uninterested in certain things, particularly if it doesn't fall into relationship issues. If you want to get their attention, perhaps the best way of going about it is to tie whatever it is you want to say to them around a family or around relationship issues. But one of the greatest weaknesses about the peacemaker is the fact that they can be procrastinators. So that is as it relates to the peacemakers. Now, our last personality style are the thinkers. Now, what are some of their weaknesses? Remember, our thinkers are the precise, no-nonsense people. They're perfectionists. When they listen to you, they are cold. They are data-driven. So that's them. So what could some of their weaknesses be? For one, they can be self-centered and self-absorbed. The thinker would, because they are data-driven, they can appear to be cold and moody, because they will not react based on feelings. Their reactions are not based on feelings. Their reactions are based on facts and figures. So where you think that they are going to respond to you based on how you've spoken to them, they might be calculating in their responses back to you. Like I said, they can be very moody, they are very erratic, they can be very unpredictable and very, very volatile. One of the greatest traits of the thinker is the fact that they can be very quiet. You can offend a thinker and the thinker will not say anything for years. They can hold a grudge. They are very touchy and easily upset. They can be easily upset, particularly if they have taken out time to explain to you the things that they do not like. Now, if you turn around to do those things, they are going to count it that you did those things deliberately. Now, these are some of the weaknesses of the thinker. Beg your pardon. They can be negative, very pessimistic, very theoretical, very hypothetical in the way they relate with their environment. They can be legalistic. They are the ones that will say to you, no, you know what, I don't believe in what you've said. This is what the facts and the figures say. So these are some of the weaknesses of the personality types. Now, someone just sent me a question, and I'd like to answer that question. The question says, which personality style is the best? Which personality style is the best? Well, that's a very interesting question. Let me answer it this way. The answer to that question depends. It depends. Now, what does it depend on? It depends on the result that you intend to achieve. Now, that may sound weird for an answer, but you see, it depends on the type of results you want to achieve, the type of people involved in the process. It also depends on the stage that you find yourself in the process. It depends on the situations and circumstances involved and the changes that may occur during the whole process. Now, what do I mean? You have asked, which is the personality style that is the best? The truth is, there is no one personality style that is the best all true and true. What you tend to appreciate, or what you need to appreciate, is the fact that the different styles are best given certain situations and circumstances. So your ability to understand these different styles and to learn or to leverage on their strengths will determine which style is best given certain circumstances. Let me give you an example. When you look at leadership, for example, you realize that the style of leadership required during times of conflict or times of crisis, or during times when you have unrest within an organization or within a home, the style of leadership that you need in order to see the team through those times is greatly different from the style of leadership that you're going to require during peace times when things are fine. In my study of history, one of the reasons why Winston Churchill was voted out after the Second World War was that the British public felt that while he was okay to lead the nation through war times, that he was not the one to take them through peaceful times. You see, the principles of leadership might be the same, but how those principles are applied are now different. So when you understand that different styles thrive under different circumstances based on the result that you want to achieve, you learn to value the education that you gain in understanding the strengths and the weaknesses of different styles. I'll give you a fine example, or another example. I remember my first leadership opportunity, and this was way back when I was in uni. I was in charge of a team. It was called the technical team. That were responsible for ensuring that equipments were brought in for fellowship on time, set up and taken out after everyone had gone. So we would come about 3 hours before fellowship and leave another 3 hours after fellowship because we need to pack up. Now, one day, one of the members of my team said something that I would never forget, because as far as I was concerned, up until that time, I was a very brilliant leader. That was my opinion of myself. I had this dominant style. I was a warrior when it comes, I am still a warrior when it comes to achieving results. And what I tend to realize was that everything we had to do was done on time, was done precisely. We were always achieving our results. Until this particular team member said something. What was it that they said? They said, they asked me, this person actually asked me a question, said, why is it that every time you look at me, all you see is a task or an assignment? And I said to this person, well, what do you mean by that? He said, look, you have never at any point in time asked about my welfare. You have never at any point in time cared about us. Anytime you talk to us, you talk to us as though we are tools. Now, I did argue with this person. I was achieving my results, but when everyone left, when I was alone, one of the thoughts that crossed my mind was how accurate that statement was. It suddenly dawned on me that every time I spoke to every single member of my team then, I saw them as a tool. I saw them in the light of the task that they were supposed to achieve. So my conversations with them were centered not around them as humans, but around the tasks that they were supposed to achieve. Now, were they achieving those tasks? Yes. But they were bitter on the inside. They didn't want to have anything to do with me as a person. Actually, some of them even threatened to quit. Why? Because some had fallen ill, and not only did I not care, I wasn't even aware. Now, when this revelation came to me through these experiences, it suddenly dawned on me that the leadership style that is required when the task at hand is being executed may not be possible, may not be advisable when the task is done. For me, I had a one-size-fits-all leadership style. It worked at achieving the result, but it did not work when it came to relating with people. Now, over the years, I have learned to grow myself, to understand the strengths as well as the weaknesses of the different styles. For example, I gave this example about 2 weeks ago. I speak and I also train. Now, when I'm researching for my trainings and for my speech, for my talk, I take on the strength of the thinker because they are research oriented. They can sit down for hours researching into topics. But when all that research has been put together and it is time to deliver that information, I take on the strength of the relator, because the strength of the relator is in communicating information. The relator has a beautiful way of ensuring that information is passed across in such a way that it can be appreciated. When it comes to relating with the participants during the meetings, I take on the strength of a peacemaker, because when it comes to relationships, the peacemaker is the only style that is genuinely interested in the welfare, in the growth, in the progress of those that they relate with. However, when it comes to ensuring that everything that I need to have in place is put in place before my speech, I take on the strength of a warrior. Because for the warrior, there are no excuses. The show must go on. So, being able to harness this information will to a large extent help you relate with people successfully. Remember this, fully 85% of the successes you will enjoy in life are centered around your relationships, your ability to develop your social intelligence, your ability to relate with people. So the more you are able to understand the strengths, the more you are able to understand the styles and how they operate in the different fields that you find yourself in, family, in career, in relationship, the more you are able to excel in your relationships. And I guarantee you that the more you are able to relate in your relationship, excel in your relationships, the more you will progress in life. I would like to say a very, very big thank you to you for listening. You have been listening to to Perspective, the show that is designed to take you one step closer to a better life. And this is the Prayer Rally Zone, PRZ 109.2 FM. And as I close, I'd like to say, as you go into this week, please take that one step, no matter how small, that will take you into that better life. And until we meet again next week, this is Emmanuel Utomi signing off, saying God bless you and have a brilliant week. Thank you and bye-bye.
Your culture, education, upbringing, beliefs, experiences, imagination, relationship, your culture, education, upbringing, beliefs, experiences, imagination, relationships, personality, and your values are some of the things that have not just eaten deep into your nature, but they have become your very nature. When was the last time you questioned any of these things? When was the last time you questioned how you think? Join me, Emmanuel Utomi, and my guests every Monday from 9 p.m. on PRZ 109.2 FM London on Paspectives, because how you think powers your worldviews, actions, and your ultimate reality. So, come on, let us explore alternative ways of looking at life's issues. Perspectives. What you already know should not stand in the way of what you could learn.